All right, the Miami Heat survived 34 points from Malcolm Brogdon and me characterizing the third quarter as the turnt quarter, winning 124 to 115 against the Indiana Pacers to go up 3-0 in the series. Jimmy Butler had 27 while making less than a third of his shots because he was 17 of 20 from the line. Bam Adebayo with 2 huge offensive rebounds late. And Dragic and Butler had a big defensive possession where for some reason the ball was in T.J. Warren's hands at the top. And the other thing of note, other than Jay Crowder getting late minutes, which I thought were very important in this game, is Victor Oladipo, while wearing the Miami 10s, took a cheap foul late and then stormed off the bench to the back, which was even noted by the Heat. And I was communicating with somebody who knows the Heat situation pretty well, who texted me and said, not a winning player. So that'll give you an indication.
Was that about Oladipo or Embiid?
Oladipo. You could say the same thing about Embiid. You can't say the same thing about Giannis or Kyle Lowry, who's somebody I think we're going to be talking about a little bit more. All right, let's get right to it. They played a perfect first half, Alf. Like, perfect. Like,
yep.
I mean, offensively, 74 points, spacing the floor, making their shots, got Duncan involved early, even with some foul trouble. Dragic was great. Bam and Jimmy were aggressive. And then the third quarter, it just all stops. And I know it's cute to say that was my jinx, but it's not just my jinx. What happens between the half? Because they can't do that against Milwaukee. They did it against Milwaukee, and I know they didn't have Jimmy and Dragic in that game, but they ended up losing, right?
What I think happened as I was watching it, first of all, I couldn't really concentrate because I was so pissed at you. I could not believe that you tried to turn the third quarter to the turnt quarter listen, honestly, I'm getting away from analysis for a second. With the track record of 5 Reasons Sports and our jinxes and our watch parties and how we are terrible losers when it comes to this stuff. I cannot believe I don't care if you're not a fan. You try to change the third quarter. Like,
I don't have skin.
Did I bring out the receipts?
The best reverse jinx we have is with a lead, like, oh, here comes the third quarter, and everyone crosses their fingers. You try to turn it, first of all, it into the turnt quarter, which it could be the oldest, whitest thing you've ever done in your life. It's a terrible idea. Turnt quarter.
In a while now.
That's possible. All right, so can we get to the analysis?
The analysis? I mean, listen, you have a team, you had a team that was desperate. And a team in Miami that they were getting open shots and they were just missing them. Like, listen, water reaches its level, Eric. Like, it just happens, right? You can't shoot that hot. But what I was telling Alex while we were watching the game is also that the Pacers can't keep up the intent, the efficiency they showed in that third quarter. Like, it's not, they can't do it over a full half, and especially not over a full game. Like, they were just hitting shots and they were doing things that were just out of their character. So one team was playing to their character and missing shots, and one team was playing completely out of character. And that's just what happens. But what you like to see is that you go into the fourth quarter, and even despite a lot of setbacks, getting to within 2 and 3 points, the Heat kept their resolve. Spo made some great substitutions, and they pulled it out.
Everybody's blaming me. Let's get to the substitutions.
I told you when you put that stupid poll up. I told you it is the worst.
I'm a man of the people. Alex, I'm going to you. Okay. By the way, this episode is sponsored by Biscayne Bay Brewing. One of us here can't drink, so he doesn't have one. But the other 3 of us, we've all got our Biscayne Bay Brewing. You can find this at most stores. People have been asking me. I'm going to put a list on Twitter because some of the Publixes don't have them, but most of them do. But you can find them at most Publixes. All right, Alex, let's get to the specifics of the substitutions because Eric had to juggle this thing a little bit. He got to his closing lineup, but he didn't stay with his closing lineup because Tyler Hero was getting cooked on the defensive end in some situations. What did you think of the move to Jay Crowder and kind of the way he used Duncan at times in the fourth?
So this is something kind of me and Alf were even talking about a little bit because I was saying, do you think this closing lineup, because they kind of went back to it, then they showed the graphic that this is the lineup they've been using to close. And I'm like, okay, do you think this is a matchup thing or a permanent thing? He said permanent, I said matchup. And This to me is kind of
wait. I said close game, or if they're down, I could see
yeah,
them.
you're right.
I could see them adjusting
with Duncan. But yeah, no. The point I was just gonna make was that basically Spo is using them like cards, right? Like he's just like, okay, Hero's a problem out there on defense. I'm just gonna throw in Jay there because they have to maintain the lead at that point, and they now have the bodies, the proper defenders out there to play these types of cards, right? Where they can have an all defense lineup with only maybe one guy who isn't great on defense. But what we saw is that Dragic is clearly, Hero is more of a negative on defense than Dragic at this point. I think Hero isn't as strong as Dragic. I think Dragic also kind of like knows what he can and can't get away with as far as contact on defense. The only thing Dragic doesn't have is being able to contain the speedy guys. But when Aaron Holiday's not in there, the only guy that Dragic can't really guard on the perimeter is Oladipo. Other than that, like Dragic is doing a good job on Brogdon, even though Brogdon went off. Like his job is to do a decent enough job guarding him one-on-one, and I think he did a good enough job. I like what Spo's doing there. Hero is kind of, all of these guys at the end of the day are replaceable with each other depending on what the situation is. I feel.
Well, Alex, that's what I was saying yesterday. I really think they got 7 closers. I don't think it's just 5. I think it's 7, and I think Jay and Duncan are the other pieces depending on who's in foul trouble, who's got it going, whose matchup isn't working. But what's clear, and this I will say this was not clear at the end of the season before the break. Goran Dragic is one of their closers. That was not happening all the time during the season. I think we're taking it for granted now, but even if you go back throughout Goran's career with the Heat, there's a lot of games he didn't close. The ball was in Dwayne's hands, and Goran was standing in the corner, so there was no use for him. Okay, so I do think that has changed because I do think Jimmy involves Goran in a way that Dwayne didn't always do, and the ball is in Goran's hands a lot more. So I think there's 7 closers. I don't think you're going to see Olynyk or DJJ a whole lot, but those 7 I think are going to play a lot in those situations. Brady, want to get to you. Let's start with the first half because, again, we got to I'm not saying it again. Whatever we decided to call the third quarter, it's bad.
The turnt quarter. You called it the turnt quarter.
Let's get away from it. Let's get to the first half and what can be taken out of because Indiana's done. What can be taken out of what they did in the first half to the next series, which is going to be against the Bucks?
I just think they have to withhold the amount of efficient shooting that they did for 48 minutes. They clearly did that for a half, and they were Duncan, Dragic, Tyler. They were all hitting. I think they all had 2 threes each in the first half. And if they could just continue the efficiency, because I noted that they were all those guys. I think it was Kelly, Iguodala, Hero, Dragic, and Bam, and it was somebody else. Were all 50% or better from the field. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be a big thing is the efficiency. And Duncan has been amazing at the efficiency this year. It's something that hasn't been talked about much and that's something that Bam and Jimmy have been saying that they don't really like as much. They'd rather him shoot 10 threes and only make 5 or something, 3 or 4. I mean, instead of just shooting 2 and making 2, So I think that's the biggest thing is withholding it for 48 minutes.
Well, and I think when you have a game like today where Jimmy's not shooting well from the field, this does continue this weird trend they've had all year. We've talked about it. When Jimmy doesn't make a lot of field goals, they win. It's just he ends up getting to the line more because he realizes he's not shooting well. That changes the dynamic. He got the Pacers guards in foul trouble. He got the Pacers guards in foul trouble because he was so aggressive. But there was one situation with Jimmy I wanted to mention again. First half, he has that above. Even Achias mentioned this on Twitter. That above the break 3, it was sitting there with him for 4 seconds. And
he's got to shoot it.
He's got to shoot it. He drove it into I don't think he drove it into another turnover, which is happening all the time. I mean, he's got to take that shot. I mean, the getting to the line is continuing in the playoffs, but I don't know if it's going to continue when he's playing Milwaukee. I don't know if he's going to get all of these calls against the Bucks. All right, a couple more things today I want to get to. This has come up a couple times here about Bam and the rebounding late. We talk about Bam asserting himself, but it's not always about, taking more shots. It's about being the biggest, strongest player on the floor. And if they're only going to go single big for most of the game, okay, and maybe even only one big playing at all, I mean, he has to give them offensive rebounding consistently. I just thought that it's going to get overlooked a little bit because of the scoring and everything else that happened, but I thought he was huge late.
He was an absolute monster. He asserted himself in so many ways. And even, in the fourth quarter when you needed, we always talk about, I always talk about relief points because it's one of my favorite things that Spo ever said about Bosch. And I look at it, and Dragic does a lot of that, and Bam gave you a lot of that in the fourth quarter, where he just, get an offensive rebound or just something that you could dump it into him, and he was making the most of those situations. And for him to just assert himself on the offensive glass at a time when you really, really needed that, yes, listen, he's not going to give you 30, 40 points in a game, but those plays are just as big sometimes as a big shot. For you to, with 2 minutes left, for him to grab 2 offensive rebounds, you just put 28 seconds back on the clock. Mm-hmm. Now it's a minute and a half left for the other team to try to come back from 4. And those were just so, so huge. And I think somebody actually tweeted me today, which was wild. They actually said Bam is trash because he missed.
I saw that.
I was like, Heat fans, do not make me go off on you. This guy is a complete superstar, not a superstar in the making, like someone in the tech stream just said. He is a superstar right now. The guy is legit, absolutely legit.
What's amazing is
go ahead.
He does all the small things. You look at he's not getting you 3 blocks or 4 blocks, but how many forced misses did he do when guys were driving to the basket today? Or there was one, I think Miles Turner got the ball at the free throw line and he helped or something and forced a miss. There was just so many times he forced a miss, and even the way he draws Miles Turner out of the paint and his playmaking ability today was insane. How many times did he throw a bounce pass back door to Jimmy or Duncan a couple of times? I just think you don't have to look at it as a scoring aspect, as Spo said before.
Brady, they're running him. I thought even more today than usual. They're running him as the hub of the offense. I mean, they really are. He is in a sense operating as the fulcrum of everything else that they're doing.
I felt like it was less today than normal. I feel like
you thought it was less?
In the second half. I felt like he did less offensively than normal.
But they were running a lot. I think, look, there's a segment of the population, particularly on that limited space in Twitter in which we live, that is waiting for Bam to sort of bleep the bed, okay? Because they want to prove something about, well, if we had, the guy who's now in Portland, guys wouldn't be getting to the rim or something. That still exists, okay? They're waiting for that. So the 99% of the things that he does better than the guy who went to Portland don't get acknowledged as much. I want to get to something, Alex, you mentioned earlier about defense and Hero and Dragic. And I actually think Tyler's defensive instincts have been pretty good. But I think where Goran separates himself in some of these situations is I thought he's done a really good job of doubling in this series when he's been called upon to do that.
We were talking about that earlier, Alex.
He just kind of gets in the way. He knows what he's capable of doing, what he isn't.
Every time that there's a screen, a lot of times when Dragic is the one involved, which is, Dragic or Hero, I think what they're telling him to do is basically to switch, but to show every time and then to switch. To basically give Dragic a cushion to go back to his man because he's slower. So that's why you see Dragic trying to get in the way and then return to the guy that he's switching onto. And I think it works because he knows, he times it right. It's all about positional awareness, I feel like, and he's got that down. And I think Dragic and Hero and Robinson are both kind of ahead for guys that are first or second year players. But Dragic just has it down packed, and I think he's stronger than both of those guys for his, for his position.
Ethan, we were talking about it. Dragic's timing on doubles and traps is impeccable. He's really, really, really good at it. He gets there at the right time. He's not a great defender. Don't get me wrong. He's let's not get it confused. He's not a great defender, but what he is and what he does better than Tyler, Nunn, Duncan, a lot of these guys that we call we look at the Heat as quote unquote bad or below average defenders. He's always in the right position, and he's really, really strong. I think people don't give him the credit for the strength that he has. One of the things we were watching the game today, and Tyler was in the right place so many times with a really good contest, but he's not strong enough at times to push people off their spots. To get in, like Tony would always say, get in a guy's kitchen, if you will. Like Dragic can do a little bit of that, even without the speed, and he gets beat a lot. Overall, in a team defensive aspect, he does so many really, really good things that I understand why Spo keeps him on the floor. I will say I think he spent too much time on the floor in the fourth quarter, and we've talked about this a lot. There was like one time when Jay was about to come in, I would rather him spelled Goran for about 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah. Well, that has been a consistent thing where when he puts Goran in, he doesn't take him out. And now the rhythm of that is a little screwed up because before, at least he was bringing him off the bench, so he had a rest at the beginning of the second half, and now he doesn't.
He played 14 of their first 17 minutes.
Right. That's the issue. And so when he puts Goran out there, he doesn't take him out. And Goran at some point always hits the wall for a couple minutes and then gets his legs back. And I would rather him give him a little bit of a breather at some point. Like we've talked about this all year, but now again the rhythm is screwed up. And the other thing is, Spo is kind of trying to serve both masters here because what he said when I asked him yesterday about Dragic, and I said, did you have a conversation with Goran about coming off the bench? Kind of like we had a conversation before about, starting, like you had a conversation with him about coming off the bench. And he said he did, and if it was up to him, he wouldn't have gone back to being a starter because he had such a good rhythm off the bench.
Some of his better minutes have seemed to be coming with the bench unit in those like second quarters of all the games in the bubble, basically, or the playoffs. He's just been playing well with the lineup of Hero, Iguodala, Olynyk, and Derek Jones. He just has I think it's something to do with the spacing of him being able to attack the basket and do what he does best at controlling the mid range and just being able to do what he does. Because I think sometimes I think he plays well with Bam and Jimmy, but sometimes it clogs it a little bit for him when with that lineup, with the versatility out there. I think he just thrives much more, and I think he notices that.
Yeah, no doubt. We got a couple questions that came in there. I know Alex vanished for a second, so he'll be back, I would assume. And I know he's got the Zoom calls to get to. A couple of questions that come in. Who's the starting shooting guard next year, Tyler or Duncan? I think they may both be starters.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they may both be starters with Jimmy, and I think that we're going to see what happens with Kendrick Nunn. The other one, the Bucks do not want to see the Heat. We've talked about that a lot. We're going to devote the whole next week to it because that's kind of where we're headed. Obviously Milwaukee looked better today. They're not playing a great opponent. I think they've been woken up a little bit, but they have limitations against Miami. And a lot of what Miami did against Indiana today, they would have done against Milwaukee because the way Milwaukee defends, they give you those shots. I mean, that's the whole thing.
You can't do that versus the Heat, and that's why they keep losing.
Can't do it against the Heat. Yes, I do need a better mic, and we've discussed that, and Alex is working on that with me, but Alex isn't even on here right now. We're going through a few more comments. Jimmy got a decent breather at the start of the fourth, and Goran was looking gassed. It seems like it should be the other way around. But that is, again, that is Eric's thing with Goran, and that has always been Eric's thing with Goran, and he's usually very in tune to that kind of stuff, and he hasn't been as much lately. Alex is back. Alex, did you get on any Zooms?
No, I was not able to. I was over here dealing with my phone just kind of turning on me. So, yeah.
No problem. All right, we've just been kind of taking questions. For people who are just joining us, who are asking things, if we've covered certain things, I did tweet that it was a bad look for Oladipo, and people were wondering what that was about. If you didn't see it, if you were watching maybe the national broadcast instead of Fox Sports Sun, they highlighted it on Fox Sports Sun. After he picked up the sixth foul, which looked like a I want to get out of the game foul, the guys picked that stuff up. He then went to the bench, looked angry, and then walked back with 20 seconds left before the rest of the team did. A lot of this with Victor is weird for me because Victor is very, very pleasant with the media, has a very positive reputation, and I feel like I don't feel like he gets like this unless he's really unhappy there. Like it's out of character for him. Like that's not what we've been expecting. What did you think of his play today?
Honestly, I was pretty good with it, man. Like if you're just talking about evaluating him.
No, I think we lost Alex again.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I think we lost. what I would say about Vic is we got an uneven performance, right? He wasn't very good defensively at all. He's a -5 for the game. He scored 20 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, which is you want to see more from him than that in the assist category. We saw an uneven game. I will say that some of the shots that he missed that rimmed out looked great coming off the hands. Like his shot is there. His spacing is there. His physicality is all there. The defense was not. And I didn't see what you're talking about at the end of the game. But if that's the case, like that's like you said, it's a really, really bad look. Like his team was out there fighting their asses off. Like TJ Warren is fighting his ass off out there.
He plays hard. He plays hard.
He just can't pass. And Spo figured that out, and that's why they trap him so much because he can't pass. He's one of the worst passers I've ever seen. One of the worst passers I've ever seen.
It's not that he's an unwilling passer; he's just not a good passer. Like
terrible.
Certain guys who are just not good passers. I mean, Victor was the thing with Victor is he's had moments in this series, but he has not looked like a takeover player. Like there's been no point in this series where I've been like, all right, Victor's about to go on a run. It's just not there. I mean,
he looks disinterested.
Yeah.
I just think he's just not as explosive. He looks like his shot's there, but he's just not the same attacker that he was before, the way he was before the injury. I just think his explosive attacking the rim and everything like that. And I think the way you're saying about being a bad look, not only is it a bad look for him, but I think it's a bad look since he's going up against this Miami Heat team that's, if they're going to be looking at him soon, it's just not a good look for you to say that's not a Miami Heat type of move right there to walk off the
Brady,
court on your
I told
team.
you, I got a text after the game that said that's not a winning player. I mean, it wasn't somebody inside the organization, but it was somebody close to people inside the organization who knows the line of thinking. And
wait, can I address that last text? There was a message. Let me address that. Okay, listen. The Heat they have 4 guards. They don't have a single above average defending guard on their entire team.
Right.
So can we stop? Like there's a reason that people are looking at Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Victor Oladipo, Drew Holiday. I love this Heat team. I'm enjoying the hell out of them. But can we stop falling in love with every Heat team every season? Right? Stop falling in love with all these guys because listen, you have to recognize the flaws. They don't have a single guy on this team that can guard an elite point guard at the guard position. They actually have to use forwards to guard other teams' point guards. Yeah. So if you think the Heat are good or they're in a good place as far as the guard position, you are delusional. Okay.
Well,
offensively, yes.
Yeah.
But you're delusional if you think that they're in a good place at the guard position right now.
No, defensively they have to help, and like you said, I mean, honestly, if Spoelstra doesn't make the Jay Crowder substitution in the fourth quarter,
they'd lose the game.
Right. I mean, he needed to have Iguodala and Crowder out there together, and can we now? Again, I'm not going to go on a tangent about this. The Winslow trade, they won this.
It was
game.
A success.
They won this game in part because of the two guys they acquired who helped them close things down. And I know Iggy only had 3 points. The Heat had 4 guys with 20 or more and 6 guys in double digits. I know Iggy only had 4 points, but there were a couple of plays he made today that nobody else on the team would make. Okay, that pass he made to the short corner to Hero, after he got caught. First thing, Iguodala did 3 things in that play that were like, 2 or 3 things that were like all veteran plays, right? He gets the ball under the rim. Most guys would have tried to go up with that and not been successful. Steps out, sees Hero and Duncan Robinson. Actually, Crotty illustrated this on screen, but realized getting the pass to Duncan in that situation where Duncan was up sort of at the top at the elbow was not going to be successful. Makes the short corner pass to Hero in rhythm, understands what Tyler's rhythm is. He's already figured that out. Tyler makes a big 3 in that situation, I think, to push the lead to 8, which was at a time that they needed that. He's making those kind of plays, and it does remind me, he is their Shane Battier. He is their Dan Marley. He is their guy who just makes shit.
But more athletic. More athletic even at this stage.
And
can run point.
Yeah, well,
he can
one of the worst athletes in NBA history. So
but he can run point a little bit. Like, What do you mean stop falling? Yes, fall in love with your players, but like don't sit there and say like Victor Oladipo is not an upgrade over Kendrick Nunn. Like let's stop.
Well, no, he's an upgrade over Kendrick
Now
Nunn.
let me also say that I'm not a big fan of
whether you trade Tyler Hero to get him.
Listen, I understand where people are coming from, but I just want people to kind of like stop a little bit with the whole like, oh, we don't need anything. We have a championship team. And listen, I hope like anybody does that we do have a championship team. I'm a Heat fan more than I am a journalist. I'm not a journalist, even though Ethan doesn't let me cheer in the press box.
I'm trying, but you drink too much during games to be a journalist.
I don't drink during games at the arena.
No, not at the arena. I'm during games at the arena.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sometimes at halftime.
Mickey used to send Joe Goodman and I shots of what do you call it? Of tequila while we were sitting on press row, I think, to write better stuff. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
But what I would have, I'm not a big fan of the Victor Oladipo thing, unless you get him super cheap, which you're not going to. Like, do not give up anything for Victor Oladipo. But like, let's stop saying that our guards are elite and where we don't need that he doesn't need another guard. Like, they need a defensive-minded guard. They need a guard who can create off the dribble because Dragic is going to be a year older next season. Let's not forget that. Like Dragic is just getting older, and they're overplaying him now. Like what happens next year?
Alf, I understand, but the guard they need, we may be overplaying what kind of guard they need because we're talking Beal, we're talking Mitchell, who's probably not going to be available. Okay, Beal, obviously, we know what the expense is with that. We're talking Oladipo, who doesn't look like himself. They may need Kyle Lowry. Like Kyle Lowry may be the guy. By the way, that's the guy Jimmy would want. Kyle Lowry may be the guy. Okay, that this team is close enough that if you added a Kyle Lowry to this team as a attack defender and a playmaker in your 3-guard rotation with Hero and Dragic, like that may be all they need. They
Kyle or Drew. What about Drew? A guy like Drew.
But Drew's a little more complicated. Drew doesn't wait. Am I get the numbers wrong, Alex? Drew's got 2 years left or 1?
Oh, okay. You're right. You're talking about who's available this summer.
I'm talking because Toronto's going to have to make a decision. If they're going to pay Van Vliet, he's earned the money.
Well, what somebody just said. What do you think about Lonzo Ball?
I will tell you.
I like it.
I will tell you the Heat loved Lonzo Ball before the draft. Loved him.
I love that idea.
I just think you don't need I just think you need just a good defender, and you don't need like a star like as these other guys are that like Oladipo and Drew. Maybe you can get a lower level guy on the offensive side that just brings it on the offensive side. Just get a guard that's just defensive minded, and I think that's all you need on this team.
Brady, we've talked about DeAndre Melton. We talked about
guys like that. I think that would just make it right there. I think if just to have a guy at the end of a game that can guard a Brogdon off the dribble, as we saw today when he was blowing by Hero at the end of that game. I think if you have a guy that's sticking him, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's right. We got a comment. Alf is a journalist. Wow, 2020 has officially gotten out of That's true. Got out of hand a long time ago. Let's get to a couple more things. I kind of want to grade. Let's do this here as we take more comments. We got 3 games out of the books now. Game 4 looks like a formality. The Sabonis thing was interesting that he's come back to the bubble, but Woj reported he's not going to play anyway. So I don't know what that's all about, other than spending time with his teammates. But let's grade some guys through 3 games. Okay, let's grade through 3. Jimmy through 3 games. Give him a grade.
A.
B plus, A minus.
Yeah, I'd probably go with a low A. Okay. Just A minus, probably just because, just his ability to draw fouls and do what he's been doing best is just right there. Is maybe A plus probably would just be him being a consistent shooter, and scoring the ball fluidly. That would just make it. But dude, for everything else that he's done, I think A minus probably the.
I would say the efficiency affects my score. It's an A minus for me. Just the efficiency, but like look what happened when he came back into the game.
Yeah.
Like he manipulate, like he's a master
everything down.
And he's a manipulator. Like I think the best thing I could say about him, he manipulates the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, when he comes back in, like you don't feel like you're going to lose anymore.
Well, right, except some of those late game situations, but
in the regular season.
Yeah, I do think if they need to get line. All right, Bam.
They're too damn small for Jimmy, man. They're just too. They're too small. They're all just mouse.
He bullies them. He bullies the hell out of them.
Next series being more interesting. Let's get to Bam. I'm giving Jimmy an A-. I've got Bam with an A- also.
I say B+.
Yeah, I would say B+ as well. I definitely think that everything. I think if the same thing with Jimmy, if he was a fluid scorer, I think that would bump up his grade. But everything else that he's done definitely gives him a B+.
Agreed. I'm with you there. I think the reason I think he's still been their second best player, even with how good Goran's looked. I love what Goran's done. I think he's been their third best player, which is something to. I mean, that's kind of important because Duncan was the third best player before. So if you had two guys kind of playing at that high level, Hero's playing better, Andre's playing better on D. You can trust Crowder, and then I think Bam still has been their second best guy, man. I think they're playing that crisp on both ends of the floor because of him. I think he smooths everything out on the floor. So I'm going to go ahead and give him an A- for what he's done.
Yeah,
he's been aggressive when it counts. I would like him to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to smaller guys.
Right. That's where my B+ comes from. And I know that Eric told us to shove it up our ass about our critiques of Bam's offensive game and his aggressiveness. But at the same time, like, listen, he does go for it sometimes, and he doesn't finish against smaller players. Like, they need that. And he did it in the fourth quarter. And he did it a couple times this game.
But he put the ball on the deck a few times. I mean, his game today, 7 of 11, 8 of 9 from the line, 11 rebounds, including the 2 huge offensive rebounds late, 5 assists, a steal. The only +8, 22 points. The only blemish was the 6 turnovers, which is
there was a lot of
lower than that.
There was a lot of sloppy. He did a lot of sloppy stuff, and that's why it's a B+. He's listen. They don't win without him tonight.
They were running the offense through him, and they kept Turner out of the paint a lot of times because Turner was kind of trying to balance out protecting the rim and playing up on Bam, who was doing all the facilitating. And I think all of that is something that Spo specifically wanted. Like, you remember when Bam first came into the league, I feel like he was just being used more as like a pick and roll
rim runner.
At all anymore. Like, they'll maybe do that shot clock when things get tough, which is smart. But at the end of the day, that's not his role anymore. And I think the 6 turnovers is kind of something that's going to happen every now and then when you give him that type of load, because he really is out there handling the ball as much as anybody else. Because you see Jimmy coming off of these curls, and me and Alp were also talking about that. Iguodala, has been bringing up the ball the past few games, and I think that's another way they're getting Jimmy into his sets. So I think Bam is a part of that. Trying to really maximize Jimmy in the playoffs. So that's why I'm grading him on a curve. I still think he could score more, but they don't really need him to. Their offense is not the problem at all. He's doing everything he needs to, checking off the boxes and more. And Turner is not really dominating him other than those, couple blocks where Bam kind of overextended himself.
I just think he needs to take advantage of taking these bigs off the dribble. I think you see so many times he'd get the ball at the free throw line or extended. He's such an ability to take somebody to the rim. Obviously, he's not been great with his back to the basket, but I think I'd like to see his percentage just on those shots, taking somebody to the rim. And it's something to note for the future matchups, because you look at Brook Lopez or Marcus Saul, he could really take advantage of those matchups, taking these guys off the dribble like that.
Yeah, he just has better foot speed. Let's get to the next one. I don't want to devote too much time to any one player, and I want to get to some comments. Dragic, to me, is an A.
A+.
Well, yeah. You have to. It's hard for me to give an A+ to a guy who's not a dominant two-way player.
For Dragic, I'm talking about for Dragic. Listen, he's answered all of our questions about is he a clutch, end of game, close game? Is he that kind of player that can take you home? And he's absolutely done that over and over again for 3 games. In the playoffs, he's an A. To me, A+ or an A, whatever but to me, it's an A+ just because I feel like he has answered all the questions about what kind of fourth quarter crunch time player he is. Is he a closer? He is absolutely a closer, and he's proved it over and over.
I think he's got to be an A. Just you look at who expected a 34-year-old Goran Dragic to play this many minutes in a playoff series and be this efficient and be this great of a scorer. I just think that
34.5 in the series.
That's insane. It's insane. He's averaging his age.
I know.
You shouldn't average your age in minutes.
That's true.
It's supposed to be inverse.
It's true. All right, let's get to the next one. Duncan. I'm gonna give him I think today we saw some of the issues where he's going to get those cheap fouls because he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. And then the comment came in here a couple of times, why is Spo taking him out, for so long if he's not going to play him in the fourth anyway? But I just think he wants to have him in his pocket in case he needs him. I'm going to say, because the game 2 was so dramatic, and then he obviously got off to a good start today. I'm going to say B+. Is that fair?
For the series or for the day?
The series.
I say B+.
He wasn't impactful in game 1, statistically at least.
Yeah, but game 2, I think, washed that out
I was
to average a B+. Because
yeah, we lost Alex.
But shoot, I just think the game 2 just washed out kind of his performance in game 1, shooting 7 for 8 from 3. I think that's something to note too. Just I said before, Duncan's efficiency on the amount of shots he's taking, like in a game like that, it's unreal.
Yeah, what I would say, they attacked him defensively a lot, right? But he held his own. Like he competes. And that's one of the things I've always liked about all of our quote unquote bad defenders. They all compete. And the only one I don't see that a lot from, or in my opinion, he doesn't. I don't believe none competes, not to my liking. But Hero, Dragic, Robinson, those guys compete, and he competed a lot, and he gets a lot of ticky-tack fouls called on him. What I would like to see is, listen, if they put a Justin Holiday on you, they try to take away your 3-point shot, do some other things, and I think he did some, but just not enough to get to an A in my opinion. But yeah, for the series, B+, maybe even an A-. He's been really impactful.
And he's been around the rim on these because the guy that Justin Holiday was pressing up on him so much, he was just learning to cut back door so many times. And that connection you talk about with Bam and getting off dribble handoffs, there might be another right there with the backdoor cuts because he was hitting Duncan on backdoor cuts over and over throughout the game.
Yep.
That's the counter, man. That's why I'm giving Duncan the A- because they're overplaying the hell out of him, like Brady just said. And I think he's really reacting I think he's doing a great job reacting, man. And they really run on him. Their offense is elite because of him and because of his gravity. And if he's out there hitting at least 3 threes a game for you, it's not just the 3 threes. It's everything else. It's the way that he runs around in the court and gets them going on every single possession that he's out there. I'm giving him an A-, man. I trust him going forward. I feel like he proved himself. He looks better than he did before. I'm giving him an A-.
Listen, the fact that the Heat and especially Duncan Robinson shooting has held up in the playoffs, which was a huge question, right?
And he looks better as a finisher now.
So bro, listen,
yeah, he missed the one layup today, but yeah, generally.
And that was that was a tough one. Yeah. And I've said it. And listen, I was the first one to say that Duncan Robinson is automatic around the rim. That was one of my first eye tests. Automatic around the rim. And everyone was like, "Oh, you're crazy!" And then Christian Hernandez came out. Yeah, he's 80% and within 3 feet of the rim.
I know you.
Yes,
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the comment that said that Alex has playoff P internet. It's like Alex is not on an elliptical machine. I promise you. Although it does appear so, but it's okay. We're having a few bugs here. He's in your house. How is this not working, Alf?
I don't think he's on my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
No, I don't know Alf's Wi-Fi. Alf hook me up. I'm just struggling to my own T-Mobile.
Look at that. He's stuck in.
Yeah, he's using that Metro PCS.
And he's proving my point.
No, baby, T-Mobile.
Okay, I know. I can't wait to say the magic joke. It's coming. All right, I'm going to go through some comments here. Well, actually, let's finish this out. We got a couple more to get to. Tyler Hero in this series. I know
20 seconds or less this time.
I know he got cooked defensively today, but considering he's a 20-year-old playing crunch time minutes, and he's had 2 big games already in the series. I mean, he kept them going today for a period of time. I have him in an A-.
I'd probably say B+, the same as Duncan. I think he's been just as impactful. I think that's the big thing. I think they're pretty equal with everything they're doing. Duncan's been a bit better of a shooter, but obviously Tyler's been a bit better of being a on-ball dribbler and shot creator. Today, he was great with controlling the mid-range. That's something that a lot of guys don't do on this team. I think that's the one thing that he sets apart from everybody else. So I think that Tyler definitely has the ability to be a B+, just the same level as Duncan.
That's a good point. I want to go to Alf on this, but I'm watching Tyler highlights right now, and you can see it. Tyler has replaced some of what Nunn was doing.
Yes. The
So
mid-range
he's made
stuff.
Nunn even more expendable in that way because Kendrick was the only guy on the team who was giving them that mid-range stuff, especially since Jimmy is not.
Ethan,
and now Tyler's doing it. A- for me.
I mean, I'm gonna give Hero an A-2 for everything you guys said, but to me, the problem with not playing Nunn, and I think he's gonna end up getting a little bit of playing time in the Milwaukee series because they give up so many jumpers, and I think they're gonna wanna, give Dragic a little bit more, not as many minutes every night. I think that's gonna kind of hurt his trade value a little bit, and I know they're not necessarily worried about that at the moment, but that is something that they're gonna have to, monitor if they're really looking into these guards that we're talking about because you keep talking about expendable, but if he's not playing, there's no trade value. I do think the Nunn playing versus Milwaukee makes a lot more sense than the Pacers, who switch everything and who are very small and can kind of, I think, do a better job of containing Nunn better than the Bucks can, who are just going to be giving him open look after open look. So I'm good with it. But at the end of the day, Hero absolutely has replicated everything that Nunn does at this point. He's just
and
improved.
better.
It's something I've
other
noticed.
Thing, Alex, you talk about trade value with him. I think the Heat will look at him and say we can make him into a passable defender in our system. And I think other teams, as Tyler's actually on screen right now, I think other teams might not. So I don't think it's about trade value. I honestly.
But don't you look at it like if another team might be looking at it like, oh, if he can't even really get playing time for the Heat, where he was averaging 15 and was third.
Are you talking about Nunn or you're talking about Hero? You're talking about Nunn.
Oh yeah, I was talking about Nunn because you had mentioned
Nunn
when you were evaluating Hero.
No, I'm with you on Nunn. I'm with you. I thought you were talking about Tyler. No, I'm with you on Nunn. I mean, here's the thing to realize, and apparently Jimmy said after the game, Tyler's going to be here for a long time. Let's be very clear on this. Jimmy Butler's going to have a big say in personnel decisions. That was one of the things that they talked to him about when he came. A big say. Goran Dragic is going nowhere. Okay, and that was
Tyler Hero's not going anywhere.
And Tyler Hero's probably not going anywhere either.
Duncan ain't going nowhere.
Duncan's not going anywhere.
Bam ain't going nowhere.
Nunn's a little out of the circle.
So they're not really in the trade market, then, is what you're saying, as far as
I don't think
bigger talent.
I will say this: if they can get Kyle Lowry, Jimmy will be very happy. That's the guy he wants.
Even why?
Is Kyle a free agent this summer?
No, but he's got 1 year at big money, and that's the guy he wants.
Look, man, I think the Raptors are literally.
Kelly Olynyk might be going home to Canada.
They played like a top 5 team all year, man. The Raptors are good. I don't think they're gonna let VanVleet or Lowry walk. And
let me ask you this question:
he would be great. Either one of them would be great for the Heat, VanVleet or Lowry.
Let me flip it. I don't think they can get VanVleet. I think they would like VanVleet. But let me throw this at you, okay? What if Kyle doesn't want to stay? I think that's possible.
Why would he not want to stay?
If he wants to play with Jimmy.
Over the reins to Fred, I think it's possible.
I'm not buying it. I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm just not buying it. I think they're so good. They were like a 59-win team.
I get it. But Masai also the best, one of the 3 best players in the league just left his team, and they still won that many games. Masai has pretty good confidence in himself to figure something else out. If Kyle's very popular there, obviously I get it, but I just watch it. That's all I'm saying. I've got a lot of information on this over the past couple weeks. That's a target. All right, let's get to a couple more guys. Let's do these together because we always do. Grade Crowder and Iguodala together. Al.
Oh, in this series, man, A+, man. A+. Like they've brought so much to the table. Just the whole Alex has the KFC internet. They've really like what else? My biggest thing, and maybe it's not just about Crowder and Iggy. Ethan, you heard me all year long complaining about the zone. They're playing too much zone, right?
Yeah.
They barely play any zone now. They switch everything, and they switch it like you're switching, and the Pacers cannot find a matchup that's beneficial. And why is that? Because Andre and Jay Crowder are the kind of guys that they can guard anybody 1 through 5, right? And they need those guys. And that's why, as much as I love Justice Winslow, he was not available to them to do the kinds of things that Jay and Iggy are providing. And they're doing it. And they're doing it at a high level. And also Iggy is running the floor, running the offense. Jay on that and a starting unit is so willing to shoot. He spreads the floor. That's why. I mean, that's why this team is killing people at the beginning of the first and third quarters because they're spread the hell out, and Jay is so willing to shoot. And then Iggy has just been amazing. His hands are everywhere. Like I've never seen a guy like this. Like, and I maybe because I didn't watch the Warriors closely enough, I haven't seen a guy on the Heat just recover the way that he recovers. His hands are everywhere on every possession. It's amazing. It really is.
As is the internet over here. All right, so Brady, one thing I want to mention on Iggy, and then I'll go to Brady on this. Seeing him up close because I covered the 15 finals where he guarded LeBron. You never don't have appreciation for Iguodala after that, okay? Because what Iguodala did in that series, making LeBron work so hard for his points, and then I think he averaged 22 on the other end and made it pretty much every key three. I have enormous respect for him. And then, the presser he held with the media yesterday, Iguodala could be a head coach right now. Like right now. Like just like I always felt about Shane Battier. Like he could be a head coach right now. And there just is that confidence. Alex has the malt liquor of the internet. That comes not the Biscayne Bay. By the way, this episode brought to you. I will open it after we're done with this. Biscayne Bay Pale Ale. You can find this at almost all Publixes. This is the official beer of 5 Reasons Sports, the Marlins, and Inter Miami. But Alex has the malt liquor, not the Biscayne. I'm going to go to Alex back in a second. Iguodala and Crowder, Brady.
I think Crowder I'd probably give an A, and I think I'd give the edge to Iguodala with an A+. And I'm a big Crowder guy with everything he's done with the shooting and everything, but what Iguodala's been doing is just amazing with just everything he does that's not in a stat sheet. I think it was game 1, he had like 4 points, 1 rebound, and like 0 assists, 0 steals. And if you were looking at the stat sheet, you'd be like, he didn't have a good game. But if you watch that game, he was probably one of their best players on the floor that whole game. So I think that's probably the biggest A+ you could give on a team just through his impact that he's had for this team throughout, and especially today, just on both sides of the ball, defensively on assignments and just his playmaking abilities to space the floor and everything else.
A couple things come in. Ethan with the most lukewarm-looking beer ever. I've got a few more in the fridge. This was a prop. And then a question came in here, are the Heat keeping Duncan and Jay? The answer is yes and yes. Duncan will be signed to an extension when the time comes. Jay's going to get that 1-year balloon payment.
But how many balloon? What I will ask is how many balloon payments can they give?
They can go over. Mickey's going to have to be willing to pay luxury, but they didn't pay luxury this year, so they're not in the penalty there. So I mean, he's going to have to be willing to pay it. Obviously, Carnival stock's not helping. But they're going to have to pay Jay and Dragic. The guy who they're going to let walk is DJJ. It's becoming more and more clear, even though he played.
And Myers probably.
And probably Myers. Although if Myers will come back inexpensively, which he might, there might be an option there.
He's going to want to play.
I have a feeling that Derek Jones is going to make a case in the series against Milwaukee that he can make a case for re-signing. I think that if you look at just the way they played against Milwaukee all season, Derek Jones was one of their biggest reasons for winning those games. That was a body they could throw at Giannis. There was many steals and times he was ripping the ball from all these guys, and he played well against even just his versatility to be a rim runner, and he had that great game with Goran and everything. I think that he's going to make a case against this Milwaukee team.
All right, stop with the MAGA Myers stuff.
He's not MAGA.
He's not MAGA.
Guys, how many times have people who know him try to tell you he's not MAGA?
He's independent, first thing. He's not MAGA, okay?
And he's definitely not a Trump fan. But...
we know him personally.
Yes.
Stop.
Okay? Stop, please.
All right. Alex, I'm going to let you get in here. If Iggy Crowder.
Man, I love what they've done. I was telling Alf that I feel better about their defense and a lot more, trusting of them closing than I did before. A lot of times during the season, I feel like I was kind of up and down on them. I feel they're just a lot more sturdy right now. I think Iguodala looks better than he did before the bubble. I've been saying that, and he keeps looking like their third best defender. I think he's longer than Crowder. Crowder's a little bit stronger, but he has the length. He plays the angles a little bit better. He has the timing better. regardless, the real thing with the trade is that besides the flexibility that they're going to be able to kind of throw the 1-year deals, is that now they have 2 defensive guys that they can. Right, it's not really about one of them being better than Winslow or more available. More than that, it's they have 2 guys who are there and they can kind of really throw in those lineups that we saw them throwing when they did the offense-defense subs, and you had Jimmy, Bam, Jay, and Andre out there with Goran. And I think like just having those types of lineups available to you, where you can kind of just go back and forth between offense, defense, and have guys that you trust, I think is going to be big. As long as Matt Crowder keeps hitting those threes and Andre hits those wide open corner ones whenever he does get them, I love it, man. I think their defense definitely looks stronger, and the Derek thing is interesting because I think the Bucks have amazing rim protection. Starting, Giannis and Brook, and then off the bench they've got Robin. I think it's going to be interesting for Derek to see if he can really make him pay as a lob threat with that rim protection that they have. But he has someone shooting, and maybe they can open up the floor for him. So I'm interested in that to see if they bring back Myers because he's big and the Bucks are big. And I really don't know. Spo has made it kind of clear that he's willing to go wherever he feels that he needs to go. So I'm waiting to see what happens because are they going to throw Jay on Brook Lopez to start? Or are they going to throw Bam on Brook Lopez? And if so, that means you got Crowder on Giannis. And I know they're going to be loading the hell up on him. So one-on-one doesn't mean as much as it usually does. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of ways this can go here. I'm interested to see in what decisions Spo makes with the rotation.
I will say this, like Iggy and Jay Crowder make you feel a lot better about a 4-point lead with 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Like you don't worry. Like, listen, that used to make me sweat at the beginning of the season. I feel good about it now. If you open a 4 or 5 point lead, 2-possession game with 2 minutes left, and you have Iggy and Jay available to you, I'm not worried about it because first of all, you already have Butler and Bam out there, and then you put those 2 guys in. Listen, stress free. It's nice, man. It's good to see.
All right, I'm going through a bunch of the comments that are here because we got.
I thought we were going to do like 20 minutes after the game.
No, I know, and we actually have another show that's coming on. We got the guys from 90 Minutes Strong, Martin and Austin are coming on to talk a little Inter Miami. So we got to seed the channel here. But a couple of questions did come in. Can we all address them very quickly? One came in. Do you think we'll see them try to steal a game or 2 with zone against Milwaukee? Quick, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I see him going to it a couple times. I don't know if it's a thing because they've been.
No, we lost him again.
We're gonna see them load the hell up on Giannis, no matter if they're doing zone. You're gonna do what the Magic have been doing. If anybody's even watching those games, you're gonna load.
I agree with Alex. Whatever he said.
Well, yeah, the phone's too much of an issue. All right, there were a couple more that came in. Alejandro, throw 2 more on the screen, and then we're going to see the channel here. We got Sixer roast. Yes.
Tomorrow night,
Sedano is joining. I actually got him to almost say I'd rather be the Sixers on his Zoom party the other night. Sedano is coming on. We are roasting Sedano tomorrow. I don't even know if we're going to talk Heat. We're basically just going to roast Sedano for 50 minutes or something like that. About the.
Can I address Anthony's question? Anthony asked me why if I'm not worried about the closing minutes, but I said our guards are so bad on D. Yeah, if you have to play 4 forwards to close out games, your guards are bad at defense, Anthony. But anyway, we can go back to the rest of the questions.
Yes, this was not.
Our guards aren't bad on D, but you're playing 4 forwards to close games. Good job.
Manto's question: bring out Myers against Brook. I wouldn't be. Here's the thing. You talk about what they might do. I wouldn't be totally stunned if Olynyk gets a start against Milwaukee because he was good against Milwaukee, and Myers comes off the bench. It's possible. I think everything resets. And remember, if they win on Monday, they're going to have 6 days to prepare. You give Eric some time to think about some new possibilities. He tends to throw something new out there. I wouldn't be stunned if it's not Jay Crowder as the starting 4 against Milwaukee.
But that would mean Bam would have to guard Giannis early, and I don't think that's what they would want to try to
That's not a good idea.
Foul trouble.
You're right. That's possible. The question is, should Bam start against Giannis? That's from Merrill. That typically has.
I think Jay Crowder starts on Giannis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Derek Jones could be 6-man, and I think he could get a lot of minutes and come in off the bench for Crowder and guard him when he's not.
I think Jay Crowder starts on Giannis, and the what we were talking about with Dragic being a very timely double teamer and trapper, I think that comes into play a lot. Like I think he's just better at that than none. Like I honestly I can't remember the last time I saw none execute a good double team or a trap. So having Dragic out there to execute those double teams and traps is going to be big.
All right. And the other question that I got asked was, am I going back to the bubble? By the way, does none get minutes game 4? I think he does. I said that before game 3 that I think does.
I think he gets minutes in the Buck series.
But I think that's why he gets minutes in game 4.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
You want to get him a little bit of rhythm and confidence going into that week, and then he'll get a lot of work during those practice sessions that they have leading up. The other question I was asked is, am I going back to the bubble? I've tested negative twice, so I can go back to the bubble. Probably going to go up for Heat Bucks, probably the first series. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. If you are soccer fans, 90 Minutes Strong is next. We will do a pod tomorrow night, 5 on the floor, a Sixer roast with Sedano. We're going to have Duncan Robinson's high school coach on with us over the next couple of days also, so that's another pod.
Guys, all Heat Twitter, I'm going to kill Sedano the same way I roasted Dutch Beak today. Like, I got y'all back. Don't worry. Me and Lath are going to be on that, representing Heat culture. We're going to make Sedano quit radio.
That should have happened
Probably
15 years ago. Yeah, probably not. He's been faking it he's been stealing my ideas for a long, long time.
Stealing my takes.
He used to call. This is another. So he used to call me after every Heat practice. What happened today? And then I'd be listening to his show and it'd be like, that's everything I just said. Thanks. Okay. Brady, check out Brady's latest piece on our website, 5reasonsports.com. Also, his new Twitter handle, BradyHawk305. We do not charge. We are not the Miami Herald. We'll still be around in 2 years.
Can I address this? No, I want to address this on the live stream.
Yes.
Ethan needs to stop calling our YouTube channel free because all YouTube channels are free, Ethan.
Fuck that.
Like, it's not.
That's not a lie.
Yeah, it's not something that sets us apart.
Al, fake news. Fake news. See ya.